Welcome to Newrealities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and this program is about the exploration of consciousness and what that means to be incarnate. Why are we in these bodies? Who are we? And what is that energy all about? Well, today we're going to find out at least one angle on that with my very good friend, Nancy Canning, who's the author of these great books, Your Soul's Calling and Your Life's Calling. And thanks for being here.
You're very welcome.
Nancy did a great regression on me. I mean, I had a great experience with going back to, well, you do past lives and you do belief systems where people get stuck in their belief system.
Yes.
We did the belief system because I had already done past lives. But let's talk about past lives because I think a lot of people are interested in that. So you sort of not quite hypnotize, you're a hypnotherapist, so you bring people to an altered state where they can access these other lives?
Memories, yes. They're bringing forth memories. Just the way we can go into childhood memories through our subconscious mind, we go through another state of consciousness into past lives. So we're bringing memories forward.
But let me ask you a scientific question, if you don't mind, because our memories are encoded in the brain or in the field, but in past lives, we're not in the. How does that work?
They're not in our.
Remember that.
They're not in our brains. I used to say that was, and then I realized, well, of course those memories aren't in these brains. We weren't alive then. They're coming from our higher self, Akashic records. There's many names, and the truth is, I don't know.
Well, actually, what I've heard is that actually in the soul, because your soul is the essence of who you are, and it remembers every moment, lifetime to lifetime, as a vibration, as an emotional feeling. So then the brain takes the memories of the soul and creates a visual image out of that. Would you say that?
Yes, we're bringing forth, because everyone we've been is part of who we are now. So absolutely, that's a great way of putting it.
So tell me what happens in your past life sessions, because I haven't done that with you. So how does that work?
So as I relax you, you're always awake. You know you're Alan. It's not what people think. Hypnosis, you're not out of control. You always know what you're saying. And those memories start to appear as a visual, but it's not so much like a movie. I had one guy who said, I want a magnificent movie. And I said, I don't think so. It's more like a still shot. It's a scene, and then you just know answers. I'm asking questions. What's your name? How old are you? And the answers just pop into mind. You sense things. You feel it. You can have emotions. The scenes just unfold as you go through that lifetime.
Is there any way of knowing if it's real? I mean, or your mind's making it up? How do you know?
That's the big question everyone has. So if you're making it up, first of all, I talk about this at the end of the session after a person has already finished. And they would usually agree they would have made it up better.
Oh.
Because the past lives tend to be mundane in many ways. They're just normal lives. You're not saving the world. You're not destroying the world. You've got losses. There can be real deep emotions. There can be traumas. There can be bad decisions. All the things that are normal to life happen in a past life.
Well, I know when I did my past life regression with this other therapist years ago, it was a very traumatic lifetime. I saw myself in the concentration camps. It was not a picnic. It wasn't pleasant.
No.
And she said, I think what you say is like, what decisions did you make at that moment that then carry into this life? I think that's the reason people do past life therapy.
Absolutely. Because otherwise it's a story. So who cares?
So the key is what exactly in your...
How is that life impacting this life?
And how does it impact this life sometimes?
So if it was since I don't know that life of yours, but in a concentration camp, there could be different things brought over. On one level, it could be this about authority. There could be issues with authority.
I do have a problem with that.
Just guessing here. Other things can be happening. It could be people come in afraid of hunger, so they could have weight issues. There could be asthma.
Or just eat as much as they can. Yes.
Absolutely. The weight issues can be from that.
Or like,
a fear of loss.
Fear of loss. Oh, that, can we work on that? We can work on that right now. I think, no, because I think I do have a fear of loss from that lifetime. And like how, because on a soul level, my I decided something, like what would I have decided to create that fear of loss in that lifetime?
So you decided to go into that lifetime.
I did decide.
Yeah, you did, absolutely. Everyone decides to pick who they pick as their parents, the main issues in their life, the lessons they want to learn, all of that is chosen.
But it's not pleasant sometimes.
A lot of times.
But yeah, like
but
those
there's
people...
a soul learning. It's not about, is it comfortable and nice on the body level?
So it's not about what it looks like here. All those people starving, let's say in Africa, would you say people have a hard time saying, well, they chose that.
Yeah. They chose a learning, and they may be very young souls, so that they're only living a couple of years, because they're just getting a taste for what it's like to be in a human body.
But I do want to say about those lifetimes that people say, oh, you chose that. It doesn't mean we're not in a position to help those people that are having problems. They're in our reality because it's part of who we are.
Yes, yeah, we've all chosen. Everyone has come into this grand adventure called life, and we're all learning and growing and doing the best we can.
So why would I have chosen that particular not fun lifetime?
Part of it could be from a higher level, because you're interested in consciousness, you're interested in helping change the planet. That's why you do this. That time in the concentration camps helped change the planet, because it was so atrocious, it was so huge, that people who chose that may, for some, have done it to be part of a life-changing event on a planet-wide time. And on a soul level, we don't pay attention to the pain it's going to cause us. We pay attention to, what do I want to learn? That's all that matters.
But things then get stuck, so I made decisions about loss, let's say, that have affected me in this life.
Yeah.
So how do I overcome? What decisions do you think I could have made, and then how do I overcome that?
But it's not a bad thing to learn about loss.
Right.
Because part of it, we all have to learn about loss.
But it makes me afraid to lose things now, so maybe I have less because I want to lose less.
Yes.
I think we covered that.
Yes, we did cover that.
System.
If you have less, you will lose less, and it will be less painful. So the learning is, the gift in that is, you come to this consciousness, this awareness that says, that's crazy.
Right.
And that's the learning, that's the gift.
What's crazy, though?
That we hang on to these old beliefs once we know better.
So I don't have to hang on to the belief that I have that to have less.
Yes, exactly.
So I came to that belief because it may have helped me survive then.
Yes.
And that's carried over with me.
Yes. So it helps us survive, and it's the truth in one lifetime, but we carry it over because we tend to carry over what we've learned about survival and death. If we've died a certain way, like by drowning or by falling from a height, we'll tend to stay away. We'll be afraid of that in the next life as a way to stay alive.
Right.
So anything around survival, we will and trauma, will tend to bring into the next life as well.
That lifetime was very traumatic. How do I get over that now? How would I...
So you've gotten over a lot of it, I would assume, all the work that you're doing.
No, but how would I get over that belief? So I came in, had that experience, to know about the human drama. So what did I do? What do I do now to release the memories and the attachments to the belief system?
So part of it is the other work, the belief systems, where we go back to the root cause of where you learned about loss.
Right.
Part of it is once you're aware of it, you begin to mentally challenge the thoughts that say less is more. And instead you bring in your intellectual mind, the awareness, the conscious mind that says, no, this is an abundant universe. You start to affirm the real truth. This is an abundant universe, and there's always more. And it's not that more for the sake of more. It's simply more in the whole thing of, what am I trying to learn? If I'm trying to learn to overcome less and loss, then it's mine to start affirming how I have more.
Right. So I see. But so talk about how you talk to different voices or parts of the self in your sessions.
So in the sessions, we talk to different parts by acting like it's a little character, and it has its own personality. It's called a sub-personality.
So with what would be the sub-personality, let's say, in that lifetime then?
Oh, there would have been many of them. The part that was afraid had to have been very afraid.
So that's a whole, persona.
It's a whole persona. You probably had many of them in that.
Right. So I talk to a part, and then I just say, okay, thank you for being there.
And to bring it into present time, to realize you're not still in the concentration camp.
I hope not.
Or you're, but we hold ourselves back, and so that's how the past lives impact us, because it gets stuck, and when it replays in our brain, we think it's actually now. Right. So we're still afraid of whatever it was. We still think it's happening. And it's part of the human process. This is what we all go through. Every single one of us is going through. How do we change those? One of which is awareness, changes it. Another one is the whole thing of becoming much more aware and affirming the truth. Sometimes it's therapy. It's all the emotional release you've done, all of it.
But talk about the power of hypnotherapy and why an altered state also helps in that.
Because in that you go back and you're reliving the moment you took on that belief, or the moment in the past life where the trauma occurred. And in the re-experiencing it, the trauma can be released. I worked with another person who was in the concentration camps, and it was brutal. She was one of the ones being experimented on by doctors, and it was...
How'd she release that? And why would she even want to create that in the first place?
We didn't go so much into why she wanted to create it back then. It was like now being afraid of needles, and she needs to have some testing done, so she was forced in some ways by herself to really have to deal with that past life and go through it.
And how did she deal with it? How did she release it?
We went through the past life, and we went through that awful, awful death, and I brought her way far away.
So she re-experienced it.
She re-experienced it from a distance. It was too traumatic to be close, so I had her move further and further back, so it was like way far away. She could see her body down there on the table. And was able to release a lot of that.
So by re-experiencing
it,
she was able to release it, and now she's okay?
Yes.
So how can I let go of my fear of loss, like right now?
Right this minute. You want a magic pill.
No, I just want to help me.
So part of it is to really go in there and do some other work on what is it you're really afraid of.
Right, afraid of losing abundance. You know, because in that lifetime, I remember like having families and a position, houses, you know, things.
Yeah.
So so what would help me? How do I let go of the fear of losing that again?
So the pain of all of that.
Oh, feeling the pain of it.
Feeling the pain. But also what I just was thinking was why you created that was, what if what you're trying to learn is the whole transient nature of life?
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so. That it's about the whole attachment and non-attachment. And that it's neither. You just flow between them. Some things you're attached to, and then you let go because they flow.
So just because life is transient and moving doesn't mean you can't have things.
No.
It doesn't mean you have to deprive yourself.
No.
I think that's the problem. A lot of like these spiritual, dogmatic people think that, they're not going to have anything. They're going to live a life with no, and that
that's not it.
No, it's not it, because we're here to have things.
Yeah, it's not the truth.
So you think, so I can let go of this belief system that's in this soul level by saying to myself, it's okay.
Because it could have been in other lifetimes that you were a monastic life where
that was okay.
That was okay, and that was appropriate. Right. And we bring in, I'm not supposed to have, it's not spiritual to have, I have to do without. No,
I don't buy that anymore,
it's not the truth at all.
I like having things.
And it's about abundance, and it's because we can do more for others when we have more. When you're out of survival, you can really work more on the spiritual levels. You can be more of help to others.
Right, because the universe is abundant.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah.
So you step into the truth.
Okay, is that how can you help me now?
Yeah, so you start to really tell yourself the truth. This is an abundant universe.
Okay, I'm going to tell myself that.
And everyone is worthy
of having.
Of everything. We're born worthy.
We're born worthy. I like
you can't be more worthy.
Because no one is more worthy.
You're already worthy, fully worthy. There's
really
no
beautiful.
more. It's like I've seen it on I think it was Facebook or somewhere about a $20 bill that got crumpled up and torn up and everything. Yeah. But it's still $20. Right. It doesn't matter what we've been through. We still have our intrinsic worth.
Why are we worthy? What makes
us
worthy?
That's just because who we are as sons and daughters of the high, of the Almighty,
creation.
of the creation.
We're worthy because we're each ensouled with a spirit. That already makes us worthy.
We are worthy because when we think about who we really are as a soul essence, how can a soul essence not be fully, fully worthy?
Right.
And then we come into this life and we come in knowing we're worthy, and then life starts to happen and we start feeling less than and unworthy. So we feel unworthy, but that doesn't mean we are unworthy.
So we create those lifetimes of feeling unworthy because we have to then bring our own self-worth out.
Yes.
But some people don't. They get stuck in unworthy.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter on the soul level because eventually they're going to learn that lesson.
Then I get it. Yeah, doesn't matter at all.
Right.
We can learn things over and over, lifetime after lifetime, and then we get it.
And when we get it, we don't have to have that experience anymore.
No.
Like, okay,
you
God,
can be done.
got that.
You can be done with this whole thing about loss and fear of loss.
I want to get done. I'm
You're
done with
You're
it.
done.
How do you check with the person to know if they actually are done?
You're living it.
Okay.
The way you live it out. You
Okay.
take a breath and you go inside and you look to see, is there still some of that fear inside?
Let me see. Should I check?
You can
How do
check.
okay, I'm going to check.
You just go inside.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe there's
So
a
then
little
you
bit
talk
left.
to that little bit left.
Okay, a little bit. I don't know what that little bit is about. What do you think?
So that's where you go inside and you allow it to come up, because every bit of us has a voice. All of our answers are available.
That little bit is still a little fear of
Little
having
fear.
something for some reason.
And part of it is many times the trauma of the loss. We make a vow that says, I never want to lose this again. I never want to feel this
Right,
again.
on a soul level, you make that vow, and that vow stays with you lifetime to lifetime.
Until we finally go, wait a minute, what's the big deal with loss? I just recreate more.
Oh, that's the way.
Yeah,
Oh,
so you
that's
lose
a key
love.
for me.
You lose love, so to speak.
I don't
And
wanna
then you
lose-
will. You
Well,
go
there'll be
create
someone else.
There's lots of fish in the sea, as they
I've
say.
heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we don't really lose love. The experience is done. Remember, everything is for our soul's learning.
I see. So people who are afraid to love because they might lose, people lose and they get, and that's just
That's life.
And I think maybe that's what the soul is trying to tell us, that that's the nature of life.
Yes. Yeah.
And not to be afraid of it.
Yeah. Embrace
okay,
it.
I think I got it now.
Embrace it.
Okay,
Yeah, embrace
I
it.
think I
There's
can
always
feel that.
more. And if love seems to come and then something happens and love goes away, it just means you're done with that experience. You've come together, you've had your experience, and now you're on to another
And
learning.
it doesn't mean we have to be afraid of love
No.
because, well, thank you.
It's
I
for
think it just
learning.
solved my relationship problems.
Oh, good. What else can we solve for you today?
I'm also interested in the fact of life after life,
Yes,
life between
yes,
lives.
yes.
So
That
yes,
I love.
We've had lots of lives, and
Yes.
each one has a process that we can learn from, and that. But then between life, so now we're incarnated in this beautiful experience.
Yes.
So what happens in your experience then between these lives?
So then after the death, we
Yes.
go, immediately we feel the lightness of spirit, and we go home into the spirit world.
Do you take people through that
I
experience?
do this. That's a 4-hour session.
Oh, we call that life between
Life
lives?
between lives.
So tell me, you take people to the spirit world,
Yeah.
and what happens there?
It's so incredible. You go home. It's that you lose the egoic mind because you're in such a deep trance. You're in a really, really deep trance, but you're still aware of who you are. But you really do lose that egoic mind, and you feel that sensation of being weightless. But more than being weightless, of being soul essence, and you feel upon returning home, you get your energy back, and you're let go of
So
the
you
physicality.
don't have to have a near-death experience to have
No.
that. Because lots of
No,
people have that
they
feeling. So
do.
your work saves them a whole near-death experience.
Yeah, it's way easier. There's no pain involved.
So tell me, why does that take 4 hours?
Because it takes a while. We go into a past life, and then it takes a while to get you deep enough. I do much, much, much more relaxation. You have to be much deeper. Otherwise, you're still in that light trance, and you're still in the ego mind. So we go into a much deeper trance.
Okay.
And then once you're in the spirit world, you don't want to leave. So we just spend a long time there talking with your guides, your elders. And it's the experience of being the I am that you are without the body.
And can we bring that experience of the I
Yes.
am back
Yes.
into this life?
Yeah,
How
that's
do
what
we
it's
do
for.
that?
Well, because you remember it, because you're experiencing it and you're awake and you're alert and you know it and you go, this is me. And it's not foreign to you. You already know who you are, but it's just more crystallized, like going, oh, this is me, and this is what I'm doing this lifetime.
I see.
This is who I am as a soul. These are my characteristics. This is.
Have you done this for
Oh, yeah.
yourself?
Oh,
And
yeah.
What's your how do you?
So I found out that a couple of funny things happened. I have like 5 or 6 elders, and one of them I call my kick-ass.
Your kick-ass elder.
Because he's the one who didn't pull any punches, and we were talking about my life lessons, and he goes, this is all in deep trance, it's all telepathic in the spirit
guiding
world.
You, yes.
He says, you've been learning this lesson for 5 lifetimes. How long you want to keep doing it?
Which lesson were you learning?
Closing off my heart.
Oh.
And I just sat there and went, oh, I want to learn it this lifetime. So there's no judgment. There's no condemnation. It's just matter of fact. Okay, you've been 5 lifetimes. You've closed off your heart. Closed off your heart. Just saying.
Right.
You might want to work on that this lifetime.
So you are working on that.
So I'm still working on it.
Because your work is very compassionate.
Yeah. And I'm learning it in many ways.
And I think you have a deep love for people when they go into that experience.
Yeah. So I'm doing my best to do all that I can. So the benefit of having done that spiritual regression is, since I'm so aware of my life purpose, I take opportunities to make sure I'm living it.
You are. You are living
and
it.
then I help others do the same. So a lot of it is to get really, because people want to know, why am I here and am I on my path? That's the big pain in so many people's lives.
They don't know what they're doing, and you can help them by connecting them to their soul's, because their soul knows why they're here.
Yeah.
Why does it get covered up? And especially because they chose to get it covered up.
Well, that's what I talk about in the book, because it's so funny. It's not covered up. It's
not.
Obvious. It's so obvious. It's in front of us.
What do you mean?
Look at your life.
Okay.
And see, what are the main themes of your life. You look at what are the main obstacles, what is it you keep having to overcome.
Okay.
So we already know about loss.
Okay.
So that's part of what you're here to learn this lifetime, is to overcome that.
Yes.
It's also to live your passion.
Right.
So when you're living your passion, you're on your life purpose. You're living your passion. You're doing work that you're passionate about. So you look at what you're doing with your life. What has meaning? What do you love?
Right.
What are some of the obstacles you're overcoming? It's not real rocket science. It's the things that are right in front of us.
It's the things you're feeling right now.
Yeah, but people want it bigger. Oh no, that's not enough.
Right.
I need to save the world.
Like all those people who thought they were Cleopatra, or I met about 5 people who thought they were Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like, no, if you think you were, you
probably weren't.
Because Abraham Lincoln doesn't care to remember that.
Yeah.
Isn't stuck on it.
And if you were Abraham Lincoln, so what? What are you doing with your life?
What's happening right now?
That doesn't matter.
But do you ever think you get off the wheel of incarnation? Because some spiritual traditions say, once you've had every human experience, you own this dimension. You're at peace with it, and you
can move on.
Move on.
I've done a lot. I've done thousands and thousands of people, and I've done many who've come in and announced, "This is my last life," and I, in my mind, think, "Oh yeah, in your dreams."
Not really. If you want it to be your last life, you're coming back.
You're coming back. I already know I'm coming back.
You're coming back?
Oh yeah.
You are?
Oh my goodness, yes. I'm so far from.
Maybe you're not.
Yes,
maybe
no, but I used to think I was pretty far along, and then I went and did the spiritual regression, and I met my guide, and I saw what far along looks like, and I kind of went, oh.
But if you met your guide, then you are that guide at some point, and you maybe are further along.
I don't mind coming back.
Okay.
I have nothing about having to be really
advanced.
advanced.
It's a lovely place to visit.
Yeah.
It really is.
It gets easier when you're really doing your work and know why you're here and being of service.
But it's all those years of childhood confusion where you don't know what your work is.
But we're still on our life purpose. We are still living it, even if we don't know. I've started doing a life purpose regression with people. I started it last year, taking them back to childhood, this lifetime, of when they were first living their life purpose, even if they didn't know what it was. And then I take them from memory to memory to memory. So this is a combination.
Where they actually knew as a child.
No, they didn't know. But they were living it. Their soul knew.
They were actually living it as their child.
Their soul knew.
Like for me, I've been thinking
but
about that.
It's not the memories
with
people.
Like soldiers and toys. I really was so on purpose there. You know, when you mentioned that, I can remember that.
So people are surprised with the memories that come up and with the ones that don't. But it creates a theme, and then we can look at that, and they go, oh, I've been on target my whole life and I didn't even know it.
I think that's really important. When you take people back to them when they were on their life purpose and they get that feeling sense like, oh yeah, that's what it feels, then they will realign to their life's purpose.
Yes.
I absolutely think so.
And it's not what they expect. They think it's supposed to be some big, huge, grandiose thing that they're doing or accomplishing. It's a way of being. More often than not, it's a way of being. It's moving through perhaps not being afraid.
Right.
It's following their heart. That's a huge one.
Okay, so we get on a life purpose, we live our soul's mission, we're there, we have the human experience. What's the next level? What after we decide not to incarnate or we've completed the human experience, where do we go?
Well, I think there's probably lots of other dimensions, but if you stay more in this dimension, meaning connected to the earth dimension, that's when souls become guides.
Okay.
And then further on they become elders, which are highly advanced beings who help.
But they're still learning, right? Because every moment
I
is to learn.
guess they are. They're learning, but they're not incarnating anymore. They're long since not anymore. But they have great compassion for the human experience, for all of us. And then there's others even beyond that.
And you're not in touch with that yet. But
no, but I'm sure there's other dimensions. Our brains are so limited compared to how vast this really is.
And this vibrational field of this physical world is so narrow compared to the
it's so much
capacity
more.
of the...
Yeah.
But in between lives, does people always go back to the same place? Is there only that one place, or is that...
There's no place.
Well, is that...
There's no place.
But is it the same always, like... It's no place, but what is it?
It's a consciousness, so it's another dimension. So yes, they go back to the same level of consciousness until they're at a different level of consciousness, and then they wouldn't be going to that same anymore. But the ones I do with the people who are doing the life between lives, they pretty much go to a similar type of place, for lack of any other word, where there's elders and there's guides, and they get to go to the library and really look at their book. Their soul's library, and look at their book of life, and really it's great fun to see a book. Now it's metaphorical because I don't know if there's really books like that, but it works because they can still access all these other lives and have this experience of deep healing and knowing.
So if you could tell somebody what they will learn or how they can deal with this life and the problems of this life, tell that camera, what would you tell them?
So I would say that there is a knowing within you of who you are and what you're here to do. And it's the fear that gets in the way 9 out of 10 times. The fear that says, I don't know, or I'm not good enough, or what if, or it's going to upset others, all of those excuses. But in your heart of hearts, you absolutely know why you're here. And you actually know what to do next. Even when we don't know, we think we don't know. We love to say, I don't know, but there's a little part of us that does know. And if we don't know yet, we will know soon. So sometimes we don't know.
We don't know. It's okay not to know.
It's okay not to know. I'm on a need to know basis. I was told this about 15 years ago by Spirit. If I need to know, I will know. If I don't know, I don't need to know.
So what was the most difficult thing for you in having this work? Doing this work, what was your obstacle that you had to overcome?
Oh, so many. There's so many. It's been a lifetime of pushing myself and saying yes to Spirit, saying yes to all the opportunities that come to me. Yes, going through a dark night, years of darkness, of really losing myself.
We're going to talk about that in the next show.
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Ellen. Appreciate it.
Talking to Nancy Canning, your soul's calling and your life's calling. Really great work. I recommend a session with Nancy because you go really deep and you heal on many, many levels.
Thank you. I love it.
Yes, you love your work.
I love my work.
You found your life's purpose?
I found it. I'm on target.
And Nancy Canning is your website.
Yes.
.com. Nancy Canning. And I'm Alan Steinfeld for Newrealities. Go to my website, newrealities.com. Thanks for watching. Thank you.